Hey guys, Mike here. So, oh boy, and I mean, oh boy, what an afternoon at least, not so much a day, but anywhere after 2 p.m. it was like, oh, see ya later. And it's because of what Jerome Powell and his cronies did. What did they do? They did something the market does not like. They cut down on the number of rate cuts they plan on doing next year. And so the market was like, wait a minute, that means financial conditions won't be loosening as much as we thought. That's liquidity. Whoo, see you later. Got to reprice things, right? But what else do you have here? What did the gentleman in the video talk about yesterday? Jim, expect volatility. Buckle up, here it comes. Why? Because it's the largest OPEX in history this week. In history, by a country mile. And what'd you have today? VIX-piration. Okay, so the options on the VIX expire. I always look at it this way, and I'm not saying this is correct, but to me, every time I see VIX-piration, it just gives the market, especially the VIX, a chance to move how it normally moves instead of being suppressed. And boy, what did it go up today? 45%, I believe. Yeah, so that's what happened. And so a number of rate cuts got cut down, and we've seen this before. I forgot when it was they did this last time, where we were expecting all these rate cuts, and they cut it down, and the market said, oh my God. And it went down, and IWM, what, dropped 5% today, Q's almost 4, SPY almost 3. And we'll get into, these charts and stuff and let you see exactly where they left us. But that's what happened, and this is it, right? And so, and I was saying yesterday, when it comes to this Christmas rally, really it's more or less the 19th or 20th. So you're really looking at tomorrow and Friday to see, is there a turn? That's really what you're looking for, okay? I don't believe in that 15th stuff, but again, what would I know? I just look at the charts. But, that's what's happening. So I'm going to go into, the main charts I'm going to go into, right? Nvidia did something today and then failed to do something. We're going to talk about that one. But again, I know a lot of people, they got home and their portfolios, it was messed up. But I told you, the 10-year, baby, here we go. It just absolutely took off like steroids again. It was taking off this morning. And so we are above that trend line now. What we're going to do is we're going to chart this out together. We're going to put in and say, okay, we're at some resistance here. Like, is this it? Will it cool off? What's going on? Okay, because remember, Jerome Powell even said something that was crazy to me. They said, why did you cut rates now when you're telling us that inflation, you don't even think it's really coming down 25? You think it's going to stabilize? And he gave some long-winded answer I'm not going to make you suffer through. But the 10-year is like, no, the data's still strong. Inflation's not coming down anymore. So here we are. So we're going to mark this out. It's in resistance now. So will it finally cool off from here? Right? We're going to draw another trend line right here, as I can clearly see. So we're going to put that in there as well. All right, if it does happen to start coming down, we'll get rid of some other lines in here and just mark this off. So people keep saying, can you chart the 10-year? Yeah, you dang right you can chart the 10-year. I think I've been showing it for the last at least 2 or 3 weeks if you hadn't noticed it. So, put this on there. Pay attention to it. This is what it is. And I said, which one's going to be under the most stress today if that 10-year keeps going? It's going to be IWM. And boy, did it get crushed today. Absolutely crushed. So we'll put in some support right here. We'll put in a little shaded area right here. If it does break down, this is where I expect it to start to come to. Doesn't mean it's going to come down right away. It would take time. Again, but if it gets through that shaded area and starts heading up to the next resistance lines, man, that is a lot of pressure on IWM. And really, I need to see how the rest of the market is going to react. But most likely, you'll see people start flooding back into those large caps again for safe havens. Honestly, at this point in time, that's probably what would happen. But again, we'll look at it. I'm not going to be trying to make any predictions on it and saying, oh, yeah, it's definitely going to go this way, because you can't predict that, right? It's the bond market. It's the stock market. You got to have 2 different alternatives to look at. Look at SPY. They were wedging us, broke down below the election date anchor VWAP, but where did it bounce? Right there at support. Came right down there and bounced right there. Now, if that breaks, obviously I should have made this box bigger, but there is a huge gap right there. It is the election gap. Look at the Qs. Came down, filled this gap right here, okay? Got down here, bounced, right? Bounced right off the election date anchor VWAP. Actually didn't even hit it. Missed it by like pennies. It bounced right there off that trend line. So we still got the election anchor VWAP there for it to bounce. But man, that was what took all those gains away, right? And so, looking at this right here, you can see it was a pretty decent sized bounce actually. But the gap is filled. We're sitting there right above the anchor VWAP. If that gets lost, go ahead and look for 500.50 or 500.80, somewhere in there, to be your next area of support. I'm going to show you a chart on the futures chart to where we need to see if a certain something is going to completely get filled. IWM, like we said, never front run this. 3 criteria. It's got to be in a discount, got to break that trend line above. 10-year has a cool down. It only met 1. That's why you don't do it. And it got absolutely just cooked. What happened though? Again, filled the gap, mitigated the daily fair value gap to the penny, came into support right there. And so we're going to look at this one a little bit closer than the other ones, and we'll pull up a volume range, volume profile to see right here, because obviously it is in super high discount right now. But you can see what it came down into. It came down, once again, you'll see support. If you have a problem with support levels, just pull this up for yourself. There you go, right? So that's where it is hanging out right now. And so remember, it don't need a 10-year to drop. It needs a 10-year to stabilize, to start really performing like this, right? But again, it can still drop further. Don't get it twisted, or however the young children say it today. Again, that was your support. There it is. It can still drop farther, as you can see when we pull farther out on this thing. And so, coming up, let me get back here to the daily and get rid of this right here. Obviously, when you look at above us, that's a huge fair value gap, obviously left behind right there. 226.70 is really where you want to look to see if you can get above that and start repairing. You're looking for structure. Some higher lows, some higher highs on those 30-hour time frames, right? The lower time frames. See what happens here. See if we can recover some tomorrow. Again, the most important chart I was looking at, RSP, which we talked about yesterday, was sitting there right below the 50. We said it respects its 100, blew right through that, right? And as I told you, the breadth has been horrific, and you know that from the RSP, right? So it means a lot of soldiers aren't participating at all. So now it's broke below the 100, but what did it do? Came into support at 175.21. That's where it held today. So you got a lot of different, indexes coming into support right here to try to get a bounce. If that breaks, that's going down probably to the 200 moving average right there, which is not good for breadth. So that's around 171 right there. So pay close attention to this one. We hadn't seen the 200 in quite a while. Okay. Now, looking over here at Nvidia. Look at what it did today. Now, came up, got to 136.50. I think was the high right there. You thought, yay. And then Armageddon started, pushed it below where? The neckline. But what did it hold today? It held the 100 moving average and a weekly 30-week moving average where it bounced yesterday. So that's actually just a tad bit below right there. That's where it bounced yesterday. So you have two major moving averages right there. We're going to get to see if it gets a bid. And you saw today, what'd you see? If Tesla got a bid, Nvidia came down. If Nvidia was going up, when it started going up to 136, Tesla wasn't doing nothing but coming down. Okay, so that little relationship is still intact. And so we need to get to see, as when I talk about Tesla chart, who's getting the bid. I'm going to add this trend line right here. We need to get above that. We got 4 touches on it. So again, if these can hold, it has to get above the neckline. That was faking people out coming up and then selling back down. So this head and shoulders is still intact at this point in time. Okay, so make sure you hear me when I say that. Now, looking over here at Tesla, speaking of Tesla, you can see right here, and this is actually a good thing. It's mitigated all these fair value gaps. That's liquidity it came down to get. Okay, set a new all-time high today. It was rampant. Okay, absolutely rampant today. The call sweeps were just flooding in, so they pushed it up again to a new all-time high, brought it back down, and you can tell how it's moved. There's not a lot of support there. Okay, not a lot of support at all. But once it came down to that little 3-day support area, okay, and mitigated those fair value gaps, it bounced. Yeah, like a 3.5% bounce actually. So it's pretty dang good, even though it was down like 8%. But when you look at this, if you pull it from there, where it started to make that move, again, it got to the 0.79 fib, bounced very easily. If you pull it down from where this whole crazy move started happening, it bounced to 0.382. So it didn't even come down to a real discount yet. And so really, when you're looking at this one, what I'm looking at least, what I'm wondering is does this thing come up here, mitigate part of this, Nvidia get a bid and come down, or if Nvidia doesn't get in a bid and it continues to go down, does Tesla start to take off again? And we'll know when the call sweeps start rolling in. If the call sweeps start rolling in, we know what Tesla's doing. Okay, if it does not, especially if you start seeing a lot of calls sold, then Tesla's probably coming down some more. And if Nvidia gets a bid, and I think Tesla, with the relationship they have, is coming down some more because you don't really have a lot of support. I mean, this look at this, it's straight up, and you got this little bitty like thin support over here to the left. But I mean, those are nothing but highs. And so again, that's what we're looking at on Tesla and Nvidia. Abgo, we talked about filling this gap, filled it perfectly and tried to bounce. Then Armageddon happened. Nope, see you later. Where did it bounce at? 0.79 fib. Right there, just like clockwork. Where to get rejected at? Golden pocket. Okay, so with this one, if it gets a bid, I don't know what MU's doing right now. They're reporting and stuff. Look for this gap to get filled first before you even try to get up to all-time highs. But if that doesn't happen and we continue to see weakness, this gap is going to get filled starting at 211.20 and then below. Now looking at NQ here, what I want to know overnight and especially tomorrow, are we going to try to fill this entire 4-hour fair value gap? That's exactly where it bounced. It was like a magnet. It came straight down to it and then stopped and then bounced right there about probably halfway through the fill. And so I want to know if it's going to mitigate this whole thing, or we finally got enough blood, right? Or are we going to seek more out, okay? Now, when it comes to earnings tomorrow, Darden's a big one, Centos, right, the uniform company, and then you're going to have Nike and FedEx, two big ones right there to pay attention to. Again, I'm surprised BlackBerry is still a company, but you can also look at that one if you like. Also looking at data, final GDP, unemployment claims, and then you have Philly Fed Manufacturing Index, existing home sales, CB leading index month over month, natural gas storage. So it will be a busy one. So buckle up once again. We'll see if we get any kind of recovery after a huge sell-off. So please hit that like, subscribe button on your way out. Think about signing up for the membership, private videos, private Discord, and a daily news brief every single morning, Monday through Friday, that everybody seems to like. So have a good one, and I will see you tomorrow, hopefully.